All right, UFC fans, let's set the stage. Only 3 of the 8 UFC champions have fights booked right now. That's not just unusual, it's absolute madness. But hey, isn't this what makes this sport so addictive? Today, we're tackling the glorious mess that is the UFC title picture. Is Jon Jones really walking away? Could Alex Pereira be eyeing 3-division champ glory? And seriously, why does the Bantamweight Division feel like an episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Drama Edition? If you've been losing sleep over what's next for your favorite fighters, breathe easy. I've got the tea, the drama, and the bold predictions you didn't know you needed. We'll start small with the flyweights and climb the ladder to the big boys at heavyweight. But hey, it's not just about the fights, right? It's about the rivalries, the stories, the stars on the rise, and the legends desperately clinging to their thrones. Buckle up. I've got takes that might just make you rethink everything. First stop, the Flyweight Division, where Alexandre Pantoja is holding court, for now at least. The flyweights, a division that's been quietly crushing it, but now finds itself in a strange limbo. Alexandre Pantoja isn't just the king, he's the landlord. And Brandon Moreno? Let's just say he's the tenant who's been evicted 3 times. But here's the problem. When you're that dominant, every new fight starts to feel like a Netflix show you've already binged. Pantoja's pretty much cleaned house. The only real action on the horizon? Brandon Royval versus Kai Kara France. 2 guys who deliver every time they step in the octagon. If Royval wins, we might get the UFC equivalent of settling unfinished business. Does it feel fresh? Not really, but does it sell? Absolutely. And then there's the wild card, the name whispered in every corner of MMA fandom, Demetrius Johnson. Imagine Mighty Mouse stepping back into the octagon for one last shot at flyweight gold. It's the kind of legacy fight you dream about, but let's get real for a second. He's got nothing left to prove. So, as much as we'd all love to see it, I'm not holding my breath on that one. So what's next if Pantoja clears out the division? The answer's obvious. Think bigger. Literally. A move to bantamweight, where the competition is stacked, could be his golden ticket to double champ status. And let's face it, the UFC loves a good double champ storyline. Bottom line, the flyweight division might feel stuck, but one win from Pantoja could light the spark for something massive. Speaking of sparks, let's jump into bantamweight, a division that's practically a fireworks factory. Merab Dvalishvili might be the reigning king, but the bantamweight division is so stacked, it could host a pay-per-view every weekend and still leave fans wanting more. This weight class is crawling with killers. And with Umar Nurmagomedov set to square off against Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 311, the title picture is about to get wild. Umar brings that Dagestani grit with some seriously slick striking, while Merab, the guy's a cardio freak who could probably run a marathon mid-fight.
How does this all go down at UFC 311? You've said you want to humble this man in the octagon. How do you do it? What's the headline going to read?
I'm going to try to finish him.
This title fight is a stylistic masterpiece in the making. Whoever takes this one is redefining what the future of the division looks like. And then, imagine the flyweight king, Alexandre Pantoja, stepping up to challenge the winner of Umar versus Merab. Double champ talk isn't even that far-fetched. But wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still plenty of action in bantamweight. Peter Yan, for one, might be on a rough patch, but you know a rematch with Sean O'Malley would print money, especially with that controversial decision still lingering in everyone's mind. And Corey Sandhagen? The guy's been an artist in there, schooling top contenders left and right. If anyone's overdue for a shot, it's him. And then there's Davison Figueiredo, the wild card we didn't know we needed. He's making the leap from flyweight, and he definitely knows how to bring chaos. Think about Figueiredo versus Sandhagen, or Figueiredo versus Yan, and tell me you're not hyped already. This division is a circus of talent, drama, and endless possibilities. Young guns, veterans, double champ potentials, it's all here. Next up, we've got the featherweights, a division that's always delivered, but it's teetering on the edge of some big changes. Alexander Volkanovski is still the fan favorite, no question there. And with Ilia Topuria eyeing lightweight, we could be staring down the barrel of a vacant title situation sooner than we think. If Topuria moves up, we've got 2 scenarios. Volkanovski either locks in on featherweight or decides to chase those super fights. If Volk steps away, that featherweight strap is up for grabs. My pick for the title shot? Diego Lopez. Yeah, I said it. He might not be the first name you think of, but the guy's been on fire, and a clash between him and Volkanovski, or for a vacant belt, would be a straight-up showstopper. And let's not forget Movsar Evloev, This dude is undefeated, and it's criminal how little hype he gets. If Lopez and Volkanovski throw down, Evloev has to fight the winner. The man's been biding his time, climbing the ranks quietly, but it's time he gets the spotlight he deserves. But here's the thing. Even if Topuria moves up and Volkanovski chases the super fights, featherweight's not exactly hurting for talent. Josh Emmett, Arnold Allen, and the ever-dangerous Max Holloway are all lurking in the shadows. Holloway especially. He's like the final boss who just refuses to fade away. So, what's the outlook? If Volkanovski stays, it's still his kingdom. But if he steps away, this division turns into absolute mayhem. UFC's crown jewel, the lightweight division. From Khabib's dominance to McGregor's showmanship, this weight class has been the heartbeat of MMA for years. And right now, Islam Makhachev has all of us in awe. But staying on top is a Herculean task. First up, we've got Islam defending his title against Arman Tsarukyan at UFC 311. And if you're sleeping on Tsarukyan, wake up. This guy has been grinding his way to the top ever since their first showdown in 2019, a fight where he gave Islam one of the toughest challenges of his career. Expect chaos, and maybe even a passing of the torch. And if Tsarukyan pulls off the upset, this division gets flipped on its head. Suddenly, the lightweight belt feels wide open, and the sharks start circling. Even if Islam defends his crown, the challengers aren't going anywhere. Charles Oliveira is still a wild card who can submit anyone out of nowhere. And then there are Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. Their wars and relentless drive make them perennial threats to the title. There's Ilia Topuria ready to pounce on the title opportunity, but the UFC needs to play it smart. No free rides to a title shot. My take? Match him up against Charles Oliveira first. It's a high-stakes litmus test. Topuria proves he belongs at lightweight, or Oliveira shows why he's still one of the most dangerous men in the game. Either way, the fans win. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are fascinating matchups all through this division. How about Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje in a title eliminator? That fight doesn't just promise violence, it guarantees it. Or how about Beneil Dariush getting another crack at a top contender? He's got unfinished business and a lot to prove. The possibilities here are endless, and that's what makes lightweight so exciting. Off-the-chart action is the only certainty in this division. Whether Islam holds his crown, Tsarukyan takes over, or Topuria shakes things up, one thing's for sure, we're in for some absolute bangers. Welterweight Division. A weight class brimming with talent but stuck in a bit of a stalemate. Belal Muhammad holds the interim belt, but let's be honest, until he takes out Leon Edwards or someone equally dangerous, the critics won't stay quiet. The fight that has to happen? Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat isn't just undefeated, he's finished every single opponent he's faced. Every single one. If Belal wants to silence the doubters, there's no better way than taking out a guy like Shavkat. No excuses. This fight needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. Speaking of Leon Edwards, what's next for the champ? After back-to-back wins over Kamaru Usman, he's been keeping things low-key. Rumor has it he's set to face Sean Brady at UFC London. It's a solid matchup, sure, but let's be real. This division needs a blockbuster fight. Leon needs an opponent who gets fans talking, someone who solidifies his place as the king of the welterweights. And let's not sleep on the bubbling matchups underneath the title picture. Like Jack Della Maddalena taking on Kamaru Usman. Maddalena's been on fire, and a win over Usman, that launches him straight into title contention. It's risky for both guys, but the stakes are sky high. Colby Covington versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Another fight that could shake up the division. Now, whether Colby actually steps up is anyone's guess, but this is the kind of fight that could decide who's truly next in line for the belt. Here's the bottom line. Welterweight has everything it needs to be the most exciting division in the UFC. Belal needs to unify the belt, Leon needs a marquee opponent, and rising stars like Shavkat and Maddalena need to crash the party. Once those pieces fall into place, this division becomes must-watch TV. This division produced my Fighter of the Year 2024 in Dricus du Plessis, and it promises similar nail-biting drama this year. Sean Strickland is set to throw down with Dricus du Plessis, and depending on how that goes, the future of the division could shift dramatically. You cannot write off Israel Adesanya, the face of the Middleweight Division. And lurking in the shadows? Khamzat Chimaev, ready to crash the party. Let's break it all down. First up, Strickland versus du Plessis. Strickland's a wild card. He talks a big game, but let's face it, the guy knows how to grind out wins when it matters. Then there's du Plessis, the dark horse who's been quietly dismantling top contenders. He's got power, he's got heart, and he's one win away from proving he belongs at the top. This fight? It's not just a must-watch, it's a statement maker. Whoever walks away with their hand raised should be fighting for the title next. Now, what about Khamzat Chimaev? After steamrolling Paulo Costa, Khamzat has made it crystal clear. He's here to dominate. Love him or hate him, you can't deny the electricity he brings to every fight. If Strickland or Duplessis takes the belt, pairing them with Khamzat is the only logical next step. And let's be real, Khamzat versus anyone in this division is box office. And then there's the former king, Israel Adesanya. Sure, he's hit a rough patch, but you don't count out a guy like Izzy. A comeback fight against someone like Nasruddin Imavov could set the stage for another title run. And let's not forget, when Adesanya's in the picture, the middleweight division just feels bigger. But wait, there's more. How about Caio Borralho stepping in against the loser of Duplessis versus Strickland? That fight has sleeper hit written all over it. Or Marvin Vettori. Can he claw his way back to prove he's still elite? Here's my prediction. Middleweight is about to go off the rails in the best possible way. Whether it's Duplessis keeping the belt, Strickland shocking everyone, or Khamzat bulldozing his way to the top, 2024 is set to deliver some unforgettable moments in this division. Alex Pereira is the undisputed owner of this division, but let's be real. This division hasn't seen stability since Jon Jones vacated the belt. It's been a revolving door of champions, and Pereira's reign is about to face some serious heat. The fight that has to happen? Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev has been knocking on the title door longer than most fighters stay in the rankings. His wrestling and striking combo is a nightmare for anyone, but especially for Pereira, whose kryptonite has always been grappling. This is a test of whether Pereira can adapt his style to hold onto the belt. But let's raise the stakes. What if the UFC went bold and introduced a mini-tournament? Jamahal Hill versus Jiri Prochazka, and John Błachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. The winners face off, and the ultimate victor takes on Pereira. It's high risk, high reward, and it guarantees that the next title challenger has earned their spot. For the fans, that's pure adrenaline. And let's not forget Alexander Rakic. He's been on the sidelines with injuries and a comeback fight against Nikita Krylov. That's the kind of matchup that could shake up the rankings and inject even more chaos into an already unpredictable division. Of course, the specter of Jon Jones still looms over 205. With Jones running the show at heavyweight, there's always a whisper of a return to face Pereira. While that might just be wishful thinking, this division has enough fresh talent to move out of Jones's shadow and carve its own legacy. So what's next for light heavyweight? Pereira might hold the belt through one or two defenses, but don't be shocked if a guy like Ankalaev snatches it away. And if the UFC pulls the trigger on a tournament, buckle up. 2025 could be one of the most exciting years this division has ever seen. Last but definitely not least, the heavyweights, a division that's finally stepping back into the spotlight. With Jon Jones reigning as champion and Tom Aspinall looking like the future, the heavyweight division is primed for some serious fireworks. Let's start with the fight we all want, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Aspinall's coming off a dominant win, and his combination of speed, power, and technique makes him one of the most dangerous challengers Jones has ever faced. This isn't just a fight, it's a generational clash. The greatest of all time versus the rising star. Put this matchup on any card, anywhere in the world, and you've got an instant classic. But here's the heavyweight question on everyone's mind. What happens if Jon Jones calls it quits? If he retires and vacates the belt? The UFC will need to move quickly to keep the division on fire. My prediction? Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich for the vacant title. Pavlovich is an absolute wrecking ball, with knockout power that can flatten anyone. That fight isn't just a title decider, it's a statement about the future of heavyweight MMA. One fight we'd all love to see, and will probably be the fight of the year. Alex Pereira moves up to heavyweight for a super fight. Pereira's elite striking versus a heavyweight champ's raw power? That's must-see TV. This kind of fight wouldn't just appeal to hardcore fans. It's the crossover event that casuals can't resist. And then there's Curtis Blades versus Sergey Pavlovich, and let's not forget Tai Tuivasa. One big win, and the Shui King is right back in the mix. And that's a wrap on the UFC title picture. From flyweight to heavyweight, there's no shortage of drama and excitement heading into the next year. Now it's your turn. Which division has you the most hyped? What's the fight you need to see next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the debate rolling.